G'day Groovers, welcome back to the Shitty Kitty Kitchen. It is part 2 of the 1973 recipe card challenge. We are going to be finishing up the chicken Surabaja, if that's how you pronounce it. It's been marinating, the chicken's been marinating for quite a few hours now. And we're going to see if 1973 tastes good to me. In addition to the marinated chook, we also made the sauce that we're going to pour over it later on. And I think some of you are aware of this recipe. An optional garnish were onion rings, canned French fried onion rings. No such thing exists in Australia. I went and had a look in the shop for some frozen onion rings. The shop down the road, it's good. It's got a lot of stuff in it, but never the stuff you need. Didn't have time to go to the nearby town, so we're going to be making some onion rings instead. Fresh ones, not crispy ones out of a can. I will be making them in an air fryer, and I know that there were no air fryers in 1973, but I'm not going to deep fry onion rings when I have a healthier option with the air fryer. So we're going to kick this off. If I can get the lid off. Yep. Oh, that's quite the fragrance. Not going to lie, that actually smells pretty incredible. I did get hit in the face with soy sauce. It's quite a runny marinade. In fact, I'll just run back through what we actually marinated this in. It only needed like a minimum of an hour, but it's had a few hours, and it's quite strong, Groovers. So into the marinade, we put a quarter of a cup of soy sauce. This is 2 chicken breasts, by the way, cubed. A quarter of a cup of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, a clove of garlic, which we finely chopped. And it did ask for a dash of white pepper, but I also couldn't get that down the road, so we had to substitute some black pepper. Bang on the lid, whack it in the fridge, let it marinate for at least an hour. Now I'm going to put all of these bits of chicken onto these little skewers that I have actually soaked as well. We'll get these done first. Then we're going to jump over and make the air fryer onion rings. A bit of 2022 in our 1973 cook-off today. Today I also made, for the very first time in my life, because I've got another challenge happening. It's the CWA cookbook, the Country Women's Association cookbook. And I made scones earlier, and they were absolutely fabulous. So if anyone wants to have a crack at scones, the CWA recipe, they were light and fluffy and absolutely delicious. They didn't rise as well. They did rise, but then when they came out of the oven, they kind of sunk a little bit, but it didn't matter. They were delicious. So we'll just whack on these skewers. I'm very grateful that the first card out of the recipe box, the 1973 McCall Publishing Co. Recipe cards, this is what we're making. It's nothing too scary. In fact, it's probably not that dissimilar to stuff that I make anyway. We've also drawn the card for what I'll be making next, and I'll be doing that on Sunday, and I'll explain why a bit later. But I like doing some meal prep on the weekend for when I'm working, and we have chosen something that I'll be able to eat for the next couple of days. I'll have it all chopped up in the fridge ready to go. Also, just to add to the list of things I've got to do, but I do like prepping food on a Sunday anyway. We also, so that the USA doesn't feel like I'm just taking the piss out of your recipe cards, we randomly selected a page out of an Australian Women's Weekly cookbook from 1990 that belonged to my grandmother. And we're going to be making something from that on Sunday as well, which will be my lunches for a couple of days. It's all happening in the Shitty Kitty Kitchen. This last skewer is going to be teeny weeny, but that's okay. The marinade has a very strong smell, which isn't of soy sauce, which isn't surprising considering that's the main ingredient. But I love some soy sauce. So there we go. They're all threaded onto the skewers. I'll just get this out of the way. And yes, what a shock. You can't get, so they're all done and good to go for when it's time to cook them. I'll just pop them out of the way. The recipe called for 3 chicken breasts, but because in 1973 chickens weren't pumped full of hormones like they are now, I chose to use 2. You're supposed to get, what did it say? 12, I think 4 servings. Didn't actually say how many skewers, but yeah, there's probably 4 servings. I'm going to cook some green beans because I'm having this for dinner. And I don't just want to have chicken kebabs with onion rings for dinner. So let's get on now with making the onion rings from scratch. I happen to have some very sad looking onions and I thought, this is perfect. Let's just make them. To be honest, I don't think I've ever made onion rings before either. Now, it says to use 1 large onion, but I've got 2 sad small onions, so that's what we're going to be using. And I've got a little bowl over here for all my compost. The air fryer does do fried things, ironically, very well, so hopefully these will be amazeballs. It's not really something I ever think to make because if we're having a barbecue, I'll do onions on the barbie. I don't do all this fancy dipping in breadcrumbs sort of shit. But anyone who's into air frying and onion rings, this is the recipe for you. So it says to cut them into thick slices. But I'm sort of going off the photo. They're not as thick as what I would call thick. And then once that's done, we're going to separate them into, funny enough, rings. So just push all of the layers, pull them apart, push them through so that you end up with all the individual rings. Like so. Because this has been done in 2 parts, I think a lot of these cards I will actually be doing videos rather than lives because things like, you know, it needing to marinate for an hour at least, and some of the cakes take an hour and a half to cook. It'll just be easier. So what I plan to do is edit the earlier video together with this one and just make one hopefully snappy little video. So there they are. The onion rings are prepped. Might just get that chopping board out of the way. And now to prepare all of the coatings. The first bowl, we're going to put We're going to put a cup of flour. I had no idea this spoon was in my flour tin, but there you go. Cup of flour. I don't know why. I'm measuring because it's just easier to get it out of this container and stick it into a measuring cup. That's good enough. That spoon can live in that can now. That tin. Then to the same bowl, we're going to add a tablespoon of baking powder. And then we're also going to add a teaspoon of salt. I'll get the skewers that were left over out of the way. Teaspoon of salt. And then you just want to give that a little mix. Actually, I'll use that other spoon. Stir that all together. That's good enough for me. In the second bowl, we're going to chuck 1 egg. And some black pepper. And we're just going to beat that up. I'm going to use my grandma's old beaters. These are long before 1973. There you go. Egg, consider yourself beaten. A bit of abuse happening in the kitchen today. And then in the third bowl, we're going to put some panko breadcrumbs. We want to put a cup. Again, I'm going to measure it out. I like to measure things out because it gives people a bit of a visual on the amount that you kind of need. All right. So there's our 3 bowls, and now we're going to go through the process of individually crumbing each of these onion rings. A fairly high maintenance thing, but what I'm going to do is actually chuck a few in at a time. So they go into the flour first. Oh, hang on, I'm going to need a plate to put them on. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. Actually, I'll just put them in a bowl. Run that time. So you want to totally coat them in the flour first. Then they go into the egg mix and then into the breadcrumbs. And then you have yourself a future onion ring, an onion ring in the making. We could be here for a while, groovers. It's much easier just to do it with your hands too. Let's try and expedite these proceedings a little bit. Do a few at a time, hey? I mean, they're friggin' onion rings. It's not going to matter if they're not perfect. They're still going to be better than onion rings that came out of a can. I still can't believe such a thing exists. Someone told me that you guys put them in casseroles. Now, this isn't going to work. I can't wash my hands after every round of onions. Let me get some tong action happening. Otherwise, this is going to take 28 years. So, yeah, just flick your onion rings around in the flour. What a shame no one's popped in, because it'd be great to have someone to talk to while I go through this process. Where is everybody? Probably cooking dinner themselves or asleep. Again, I think a lot of these will just end up being videos. Plus, if I film them on my camera vertically, I can make shorts, which is ultimately what I want to do with this channel. So I do like going live when I can, but this is clearly not a good time for people to come in and say good day. And I'll be editing that bit out of this video. In fact, I'll be editing most of this onion ring making out of the video too. It's like watching water boil, right? Oops. And I'm not being precious. These are going to go into an air fryer. It's making me realise quantity-wise, I probably need a couple of racks in my air fryer. If you've got one of those air fryers with a basket, you'll be doing a shitload of baskets worth. Mine's more like a little oven, and it's got 3 racks, which is really handy. You can do pretty big meals in it. Whereas the little basket ones, I think, are a bit limited. I don't need this many onion rings. And in fact, I don't actually think that I will be eating onion rings again with these skewers. So I might stop after this lot and not crack another egg, because there's already way more onion rings than I need for one dinner. I guess I'll have them tomorrow night too. Or this could be lunch. I don't know. I'm just talking to myself. People keep popping in, but they don't say anything, and then they go. And that's kind of... I don't want to see her make onion rings. I'm cooking from a 1973 recipe card. This is retro. Oh, shit. And it's messy too. Where are all my messy cook friends? That one needs a bit more breadcrumb action. All right, we'll just finish this little lot here. And I think that will be more than enough to make these onion rings. And again, like, this isn't part of the recipe card. This is just me taking the recommendation that it's served with onion rings one step further, because their onion rings come out of a can, already cooked and crispy. Such a weird concept to me. Let me just wipe down this. I can't get to my sponges. Hang on. Give my board a little wipe. Thank God I'll be editing this. And then we're going to get on with the cooking. And if anyone joins me, it'll probably be right when I say good night. Okay. So the next thing is to get the chicken happening, because the chicken will take, according to the recipe card, you want to grill it for about 12 to 15 minutes. Now, you could grill it out on the barbie. The weather today has been a bit iffy and it's quite windy. And based on the fact that I'm going to be cooking beans and a sauce and the onion rings with the air fryer, easier to stay inside. So I'm using a little, like a grill pan. So I'm going to get that onto a medium heat. Being a Le Creuset and cast iron, they heat up and hold the heat really well. You don't ever want to put your cast iron stuff on like a really high heat, because you can actually crack them. So like high for Le Creuset is usually medium. But when I start cooking them, if it's not quite right, I might crank it up a bit more. This oven tends to lean towards medium, is sort of halfway between what I'd call medium and high. Riveting stuff. I've got water that I boiled earlier that I'm going to be cooking the beans, steaming them in a little while. And then over here is the sauce that I made earlier. The sauce is a quarter of a cup of butter, although being 1973, you can use margarine, half a cup of soy. Now, I didn't have any dark soy left, so I used tamari, but I think based on that really strong soy sauce smell in the chicken, it's probably a good thing that I'm not doubling up on that. Too strong a flavour. And then we've also got 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, half a teaspoon of salt, and a dash of cayenne pepper. So while that's heating up, I'm going to get another rack for the onion rings. Or do I just do one batch? No, I'll do both. And we're going to put on the air fryer. And we want to preheat it to 190. So I'm going to put this on for about, oh, hang on. Go back to manual. There we go. Temperature 190. And I'm going to preheat it to 5 minutes, because for deep fried stuff, you want it to be super hot. And then while that's heating up, I'm just going to go over the sink and I'm going to spray my basket and this other rack. I'm going to cook with both. I've got a drip tray in the bottom of my air fryer. It's amazing how little stuff actually ends up on the bottom of it. But I'm going to just spray these with some oven spray, some baking spray, olive oil. That's one. And the second one. I'm going to actually use the same oil to spray the pan that I'm going to be cooking the chicken into. You can pour olive oil straight on. Susie, hello. Yay. I'm not alone anymore. Woohoo. You can use olive oil. You can even use butter if you want, although no, I probably wouldn't use butter. I'd do an oil with this. And then while the air fryer's heating up, let's bring this board back over that I was just using while I sprayed them. I'm just going to put the onion rings out. How you been, Susie? This is the 1973 recipe card challenge from the USA. Chicken Surabaja. Plus we drew the next thing I'm going to be making from it, and I'm hoping that you're still around or someone else is here when I show it because it's hilarious. But it's also going to end up being really handy for me to have it made up for the week for work lunches. I love packing my own lunches because you pay so much now for lunch if you go and grab it from somewhere, and it's never as good as anything that you can bring from home, ever. So I'm just putting the onion rings onto 2 different baskets. Yes, we are air frying because the recipe said you could garnish this dish with canned French fried onion rings, which we don't have. And they sound disgusting. I can't believe such a thing exists. I'm great, thank you. Getting rough at the holidays around the corner, hanging in there. Oh, good, gorgeous. We all just have to, that's the best we can do, right? Is hang in there. So I'm going to be doing the kebabs in batches. I'm just doing a test run to see. Oh, I've got a bit of heat happening. I'll do them in batches of 3. But yeah, I'm great, thanks. I'm really enjoying these challenges that I'm going to be doing on this channel. Yeah, they're great. And I love this one. This one's called a Mighty Chef, and it's, just let me show it to you. It's over there. It's like a little mini, I mean, they are ovens, but it's almost like an exact replica of the oven I've got in this kitchen. They don't really save a lot of money in terms of electricity. They do save you a little bit, which, you know, any saving is a good saving. But the thing I love about them is just they're so convenient. And if I'm cooking like a dinner for 2 people, I often feel guilty if it's my big oven or if I'm doing leftovers when I get home from work, like to just chuck it in that. It doesn't feel so bad. And this one's brilliant. It's got a rotisserie, so I can do roast chicken, barbecue chicken. It does dehydrating, so I can dehydrate my own fruits, although that's about an 8-hour exercise, but still worth it. It has about 7 or 8 different functions. The only thing it doesn't do is microwave. But I absolutely love it. And I got it on Amazon when they had a sale on. It ended up being about $200, including postage. And as far as air fryers go, look, I studied and researched to get one because I didn't want one that was going to be really noisy. As far as air fryers go, because my basket one that I originally got just to see if I liked them, I got like a $30 one from Woolies. It was really noisy, whereas this one isn't too bad. Now, how long are my onion rings? They're going to cook for 7 minutes. You can also, I'm going to do it because why not? I've never made onion rings before. You can spray the tops of them as well. But let's chuck them in. And then we'll set that for 7 minutes at 190 Celsius. And let's see what they're like. Hey, humanimal. Sizzling chicken sticks and onion rings. Oh, the Ninja Foodie. I think I looked at the Ninja Foodie one too. I think it was way more expensive than the one I ended up getting. I mean, I think they're both around the same price, but I just got this one because of the reviews, and also it was on a really, the sale was really good. How are you, Humanimal? Hi, Mel. You just pulled all the Halloween shit down and a tack flew into your eyeball. Oh my, not the pointy end. Oh my God. So I'm just going to crank up the water over here too because I'm going to do some steamed green beans. And which isn't part of this recipe, by the way, but this is my dinner, so. So yeah, this whole exercise kicked off earlier today where I marinated the chooks. Hey, Aussie. Yeah, I love my air fryer. What I did, a friend of mine recommended it. He said, go and get a $30 one from Woolies, just like one of those little basket ones, and see what you think. And within the first time I used it, I was hooked. Now, I'm not going to cook all of these while we're chatting. I'll keep cooking them as long as we are chatting. So the chicken has marinated for more than an hour. It needed an hour minimum. I also made a sauce earlier, which is butter, soy sauce, lemon juice, salt, and cayenne. The marinade for these was soy sauce, lemon juice, garlic, and a dash of white pepper. Aussie loves a good onion ring. Anyone from the future watching, please like and subscribe for more 1973. Well, we drew out in the earlier session with Scout and Emily Flotilla and a couple of others. We drew the card for the next thing I'm going to be making, which I'll be doing on Sunday. A lot of these recipes I've realised I'm going to have to do as a video because some of them need like an hour in the fridge. Some things need to go in the fridge overnight. Things need to bake for a couple of hours. So, but yeah, so I also started my CWA cookbook challenge today and made the first batch of scones I've ever made in my life. Let me show you them. They were really bright and light and fluffy when they came out of the oven, and then they sort of flattened a little bit. That's a super gigantic one I made with the last bit of dough. But they flattened a little bit, but oh my God, they are so yummy. They are so light and moist, straight out of the CWA cookbook. So I've kicked off that challenge, and I've already picked another recipe that I'll be making from there, and it's a peanut butter fudge. But that's one that I'll do in a video because it needs to harden in the fridge. And so that the American subscribers don't feel like we're picking on, I'm just going to crank this up. This chicken feels incredibly tender, Groovers. Just so Americans don't think that we're just picking on the 1973 American recipe cards, I've also chosen a Women's Weekly cookbook from 1990. That was my grandmother's. And I'm going to be making something out of that on Sunday as well. Has anyone tried the Julia Child beef bourguignon recipe? It was pretty damn good. I just remember in the movie, like, she kept saying beef bourguignon. Speed up, Aussie. My dad makes the fluffiest scones. These were delicious. Is it finger looking good? We'll be finding out soon. They're salty as all heck because he doubles the baking soda. These ones had corn flour in them, not baking soda. But they were scrumptious. All right, I'm going to just chuck my beans on too. Just going to be steaming some green beans that I trimmed the ends off earlier. The onion rings are looking good, but everything looks good in an air fryer. Oh, these are starting to look nice too. It's all a happening, Rupert. Oh, yes, my little safety handle of love that you should use on your cast iron stuff. So I'll be able to give you a cam shot. They're looking good. I was stoked with the scones though. Oh, you like making batters with ginger ale? Yeah, well, see, the funny thing is I've always been told that scones with lemonade in them are the best way to make really fluffy, moist. Oh, Cement Shoes has noticed Mel's picture. But yeah, lemonade's really good to make moist scones, apparently. And I thought this. Someone told me once that there was a CWA recipe that did that, but not the one I made today. I'm a shocker on my phone too. I'm a typo queen. Mel has had to learn to be fluent in my kind of typo as well. I'll get a little bowl for my onion rings. But yeah, so I am making a bit of a modern addition to this dish by doing some onion rings over there in the air fryer. But like I said, I couldn't buy any frozen ones at Little Shop down the road, and Australia doesn't do onion rings in a can. I didn't even know such a crazy thing existed. Mel's nudes got out, so she embraced it. I like my chicken to be nice and moist, so I think these are about ready to come off. And we'll whack another batch on. Just going to give my pan another spray because it's begging for it. And I've got some beautiful garlic burning in the bottom of the pan now, which I love that smell. That sort of caramelized garlic. Yum. God, it's all happening here, groovers. Now, I'm just going to check my onion ring. Since they said it was the perfect garnish for this dish, I thought, bugger it. Let's whack on the air fryer, right? Okay, then it is. I'm just swapping the baskets over. I'm going to give that a little bit of a spray. And I'm just going to chuck them in for a few more minutes. They're not as golden as I would like. Put those ones up the top. Now I've got breadcrumbs everywhere. Really easy to clean though, this one, so not too stressed about that. Put them on for 3 minutes. Just going to whack the lid on my beans so they steam a little bit quicker. Sorry I'm not reading chat at the moment. Things are going off here. There's a lot going on in the kitchen. Oh, the pan's a bit hotter now too, which I'm happy about. And I'm going to crank up the sauce I made earlier too. This comes with a bit of a drizz. Oh, look, I'm hopeless with chat when there's chaos in the kitchen. And this is like, we've got everything happening right here, right now. So you guys do what you've got to do. And yeah, a lot of the time I'll be doing videos because some of the things that we're going to be cooking, like there's no way I can be live for 6 hours while we wait for things to set in the fridge or the freezer. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've made 9 little baby skewers. I chose to do little ones just because I wanted to do it in this pan indoors, because making the onion rings in the air fryer, I didn't want to be running between the barbecue out on the deck and inside. Plus the weather isn't great for being on the deck at the moment. It's a bit feral, very windy, and occasional rain. It hailed in Hobart yesterday. Hail. It's freaking November. Get those snacks sorted, Mel. I'm glad some people have rocked up though in the chatting, because for a while there I was live on my own just going, not even one person is wanting it. Don't forget to subscribe. I guess you guys are already subscribed. And we're over 100 subs now. That was my goal for the end of the year. Okay, that sauce is back up to the boil, so I'm going to pop that down onto simmer now. The recipe actually says with the sauce, combine all the ingredients, bring to boiling. Uh-oh, you're in trouble. No Pepsi Max. Sucks to be you. So yes, I have literally, this is the sauce. It didn't thicken. It's not meant to. It's just this really runny, more soy sauce because we just didn't have enough already in the marinade. I'm keeping an eye on my beans too because I like my beans crunchy. But that's just for me when I eat my dinner in a minute. I'm literally going to do the taste test with the kebabs, the sauce, and the onion rings. Oh, dash to the shop. All right, speaking of onion rings, that's there for the moment. This is the onion rings. They're pretty crunchy. This camera doesn't really do colours justice when you're cooking, which is annoying. I want you guys to see the beauty that is my cooking, but I did make these in a bit of a rush. I wasn't very gentle with them, and I didn't do them one by one, and now I can see why they look the way they do. But they're still got to be a bit better than onion rings out of a can, right? I'm not going to put salt on them or anything like that because there's a lot of salt in the dish. I don't need to wear the mitten now. But there's the onion rings. They're kind of golden. See how the light and the colour just changed really quickly? They don't look as pretty as the ones in the cookbook, but actually, shit, speaking of cooking beans and cookbooks and stuff, just going to flick my chicken over because I reckon they're good to go. Actually, while we're just finishing up everything else, I'll put the last ones on, and also the other ones I was doing, I'm going to chuck them back in because they're not as golden as I'd like. I'll get that dish out of the way. I've also got another shelf load of onion rings to decant. Look at me, I'm cooking for 50 people. It's ridiculous. These will probably go soggy now because I'm chucking them all on top of each other. But like I said, they're still going to be better than onion rings out of a can, right? Okay, they're done. Just get them out of the way for a minute for plating up shortly. We're still going to see how 1973 tastes, groovers. All right, the beans are probably as good as I like them. I don't like them overly cooked. I still like a little crunch in my beans. But like I said, they're going to be when I actually sit down to have dinner, which will be shortly. Anything's better than food in a can, right? So, it's another spray. Forgot to do that before. This pan, these wrought iron pan or cast iron pans get so hot that probably in another minute I could switch this off and this will keep cooking for another 5 minutes. Oh, canned spaghetti. Who's going to help me eat all of it? Well, what I'll actually do is I'm obviously going to have some for dinner now, and then I'll have it as a meal tomorrow. I'm not sure whether it'll be lunch or dinner yet, depending on whether I feel like cooking again tomorrow. And then the kebabs, I'll probably put whatever's left over in a little baggie and freeze them. You're a 76 baby, so cement shoes. God, I was born in 67. I'm the old fart of this channel. Yeah, I'll probably just freeze some in little baggies, and then one day when I'm home and I'm not sure what I want for dinner, I'll look in the freezer and I'll see a little baggie of these, and I'll be like, oh, cool, I'll just make a salad and heat them up and have that. 71. Yeah, canned spaghetti toasted sandwiches are divine. All right, I'm going to start plating up for the toast test. Using a couple of the kebabs I made earlier. Those two will suffice. Some of the, oh, they're very crunchy. They're very crunchy. Some of my crunchy onion rings. Freshly made, not out of a can. I swear to God, if I ever go back to the States, the first thing I'm going to do is buy a can. Although I notice now they don't come in cans. They're like a plastic container. Still incredibly disturbing. I'm going to switch off that front element because that'll keep cooking, and the back as well. And then, oh, shit, sorry. So we've got the little kebabs here and my onion rings. I'll just bite into one so you can hear how crunchy they are. Hear that, man? Oh, they're really good. But to be honest, anything with panko breadcrumbs is always amazing. This side of the plate, 2022. This side of the plate, 73. You've never heard of them, cement cheese? Well, neither had I. Actually, the onion rings do need some salt. Okay. Lastly, the chicken Surabaja sauce. This is a bit older than 1973, but it's my most favourite little ladle and one of my most favourite things in my kitchen. I'm actually going to take them off. And I'm just going to ladle a little bit of sauce to try and get the light happening without my shadow. A little bit of sauce over the kebabs. And that's it, groovers. 1973 on a plate, sort of, with a 2022 onion ring garnish. So here we have it. I'm going to do a taste test. Prepare for battle. I'm going in. Hopefully, oh, it slid off beautifully. All right. 1973. Do you taste good to me? I can tell how I can tell how moist the chicken is. It felt moist even when I was cooking it. There's not even any mold. What do you mean mold? Oh, yum. Oh. Yum. The chicken is incredibly tender, but that's not surprising because it marinated for like 3 or 4 hours. I'm not going to lie. The prevailing flavour is I can't taste any lemon at all. I can taste a little bit of garlic. It's pretty much soy. But I love soy sauce, so I'm digging it. Let me eat a piece with some onion ring, since that was their recommended garnish. Let's see what the combo is like. It really, I mean, it tastes better than soy because it has got those other flavors, but none of them are really strong. But if you love soy sauce, this is delicious. I've made way more complicated marinades using a heap more ingredients. And still getting beautiful tender chicken. But this honestly is this in terms of a budget dish as well. This is a ripper because it doesn't have a lot of stuff in it. Let me try it with the onion. Oh, it's from 1973. True. I can't stop eating it. It's delicious. I'm really happy with this. Oh my God. That will be my dinner shortly with some green beans as well on a bigger plate. Guys, I'm giving that 10 out of 10. Even the onion ring component, like, I know we cooked it 2022 style in the air fryer with panko breadcrumbs, but it's actually, I would never have thought to do onion rings as a side dish to kebabs, ever. But there's something about it, like the soy, the onion ring just kind of neutralizes the super strong soy. Yeah, and what I'll do, I'll start doing, I don't have a community page on this channel, which sucks, but the sauce had butter, soy, lemon juice, salt, and a dash of cayenne. I'm getting a tiny bit of cayenne on my lips. We're sticking with the first card, and speaking of that, before I log off, because I do want to eat this dinner while it's still warmish with beans. But in the show earlier, I think what I'm going to have to do when I edit this and make one video out of the two parts, I'll put the recipe in the description, but it's quite chunky. Like I didn't feel like typing it out today. But the box today, earlier, we drew the next card and check it out. It's the fresh pineapple Dorado Beach. I'm sticking with the first one here, madam. I'm like you. I'm a bit of a square. I think first one drawn. I was just a bit delirious last night. It was all a bit of fun. So this is basically a fruit salad in scooped out pineapples. It's got strawberries, kumquats, apple, banana, and pineapple. And then wait for this humanimal. It's got a poppy seed dressing. I said earlier, I'm like, humanimal's going to be like, blend the poppy seeds. But the beauty of this is fruit salad. I'm going to chop it all up. I won't dress it till the day I take it to work, but I'm going to basically, what I'll do after because I'm going to do it like it's meant to look, like this. But after the live, I'll scoop out the fruit, pop it all in a bowl, like, you know, in the fridge, an airtight container, and that will be fruit salad for a couple of days. And I'll just have the dressing in a little jar, and I can add the dressing on as I want it. No jelly, Mel. So this isn't going to be hideous either. So this is going to be me prepping the fruit basically for my lunches for work on Monday and Tuesday. I'll be doing this on Sunday. I've also got the Women's Weekly Cookbook Challenge underway, and we've opened up that. But you'll have to join me on Sunday to find out what that is. And I've also got a CWA recipe. I mentioned it earlier. We're going to be making another one that was randomly opened. It's going to be a peanut butter fudge. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of messy work. So we'll be doing that on the weekend. And I'll be doing the fudge will be a video because that needs to firm up in the fridge. And the other thing I'm going to make as well, I'm going to plate it up the way it would have been plated up in the late 80s, badly. And then I'm going to demonstrate how I'm going to just chop it up, and I'm going to have a big bowl of salad that I can eat. There you go. It is a salad. It's no mystery, though. It's at the end of part 1 of this video. If anyone's really curious, you can go back there and see. Or it might have been at the end of the scones. I don't know. This is just the beginning to the night. Exactly. I have the same vibe, Mel. I think this is starting off really kindly, and it's just going to turn into horrors because I'll probably just end up with like 20 cards that are all things in aspic. But so far, I'm pretty happy. We've made beautiful kebabs. These are really yummy. I'm a fan of the chicken Surabaja, and I'm going to log off, in fact, so I can get on with eating it. And then I think Finn and I will be doing batshit later on unless he cancels at short notice. Duck in jelly with, it's going to have with snail sauce. I'll go insane. Well, there will be other meals in between too, like because this next card is something that's actually, it makes sense for me to make it on Sunday, so I've got it for work lunches. But otherwise, I'm going to have a week to recover if they start to get too hideous. But thanks for hanging out, Groovers. Yeah, this one I'm definitely giving chicken Surabaja, 10 out of 10. Bloody delicious. I will see you all maybe a bit later on tonight, Groovers. But if not, happy cooking. Anytime. It's not going to let me end the broadcast. Here we go. Bye.